I've entitled this, Not All Things Go as Planned. My name is Jane Congleton, and I'm the oldest of Joy's 5 children. I want to tell you about the woman that we are here to honor today, Joy Fagenstrom, and how she reacted to the unplanned events in her life. Joy was born in Basin, Wyoming on July 12, 1921, to Myron Bradshaw Walker, known as Doc, a veterinarian, and Olive May Townsend Walker, a teacher. Joy had one brother, Myron Bradshaw Walker Jr., who was 2 years younger. She graduated from Basin High School in 1939. She attended Stanford University in Palo Alto, California for 1 year. She then transferred to Montana State College in Bozeman, Montana, majoring in nursing. She met her future husband, Richard L. Fagenstrom, known as Dick, in college. They were considering marriage when World War II intervened in their lives. Dick suspended his studies in engineering, joined the Army infantry, and was sent to Germany. Joy completed her nursing studies and went to work at Montana Deaconess Hospital in Great Falls, eventually becoming an instructor. She then went to Minneapolis to get a master's degree, but returned to Great Falls before completing it. That wasn't in the plan. In the meantime, Dick's parents received a telegram, and the Great Falls Tribune reported Dick killed in action. Well, that certainly wasn't in anyone's plan. It turns out he was shot and wounded, not killed. Dick left the Army, returning to Great Falls, and asked Joy if she wanted to share a joint checking account with him. A month later, they were married. The camera failed and no pictures were available from their wedding. That wasn't planned. So they went on their month-long honeymoon to California. When they returned to Great Falls, they put on their wedding duds, bought another bouquet, and posed for a wedding picture. Dick and Joy returned to Bozeman so Dick could complete his engineering degree. Joy gave up her career to start a life with Dick. After Dick graduated in May, they moved to Great Falls, where Dick went to work with his father and brother, constructing roads and bridges throughout Montana. They lived in an apartment in Dick's parents' house. Dick's mother would go and buy dresses for Joy and charge them to Dick and Joy's account. That wasn't according to the plan because they couldn't afford it. Joy became pregnant. As she neared the end of her pregnancy, she elected to be induced on a weekend when Dick could be present. Jane was born and turned into a colicky, cranky baby, which was not in the plan. After all, Joy was an experienced labor and delivery nurse. Her baby should be the ideal child. Dick was out of town most of the time with construction, and Joy was exhausted. Dick was having difficulty getting along with his dad and brother, and with what we now think was PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So Dick and Joy moved to Whittier, California, where Dick got a job as an engineer. They bought a house, and Dick remodeled it. All was idyllic until Joy was diagnosed with tuberculosis in 1950. Dick was told by the physician that no one survived with TB as serious as Joy's. That didn't fit in the plans Dick and Joy had. Joy entered a private TB sanitarium in March of 1950 with the attitude, "I'm going to do whatever it takes to get well." Their daughter Jane, who was 2.5 and cute as can be, went to live with Joy's parents, Doc and Ollie, in Basin, Wyoming. Joy was on bed rest for a year at the private tuberculosis sanitarium. Dick had been working on a master's degree in engineering but had to stop because he now had to pay the expenses of Joy's hospitalization. He was able to visit Joy only once a week because of his work schedule and the distance. I remember visiting Mom, probably when I was 3, fearful I would fall through the open grate metal outdoor fire escape stairs. When I got to her room, I started to run to her, but she put her hands out and said, "No, you see she was contagious and could give the disease to me." Being unable to hug and kiss her little girl was not in her plans. When Joy was released from the sanitarium, she was on bed rest for an extended period of time at home. But Joy's lungs couldn't tolerate the smog in the Los Angeles basin, so they decided to move to Wyoming. They left their nice home in California and into a shanty on a farm outside Basin, Wyoming, where Dick apprenticed under an experienced farmer for a year. They then moved to Manderson, Wyoming, where Dick farmed sugar beets and later alfalfa and raised steers, fattening them to sell. The house that they moved into was built in 1906, had minimal to no insulation, and only one heat source in the living room. Although there was running water indoors, there was only an outdoor privy, no indoor plumbing. Have you ever had to go to the outdoor privy in Wyoming in the middle of winter? That wasn't according to their plan. Joy was told it was not recommended for her to have more children. However, her Catholic OBGYN must have had different ideas. In 1955, Nancy was born. 3 years later, Susan. 13 months later, Janice. And 2 years later, a fourth unexpected bundle, a boy, Joe. That wasn't in the plan, but they adapted, remodeling the house and accepting the circumstances. 6 weeks after Joe was born, Joy developed a painful condition with an ovarian cyst that twisted on a pedicle. Dick packed up the 4 youngest kids and drove Joy to Great Falls, Montana, where she had surgery. That wasn't on their current plan. In 1963, they left the farm because they realized they could not make a living farming and raising steers and send their children through college. So they moved to Great Falls, Montana, where Dick worked as selling life insurance. After an 18-year hiatus, Joy went back to work in nursing, initially in ICU, intensive care, and then labor and delivery, her passion. Joy and Dick moved to Eastport, Idaho in 1970 when Dad got a job with the Customs Service. Joy's mother came to live with them in a customs house, which had 2 bedrooms, an unfinished basement where the kids had a dormitory, and only 1 bathroom. You can imagine what it was like in the mornings getting ready for school. That wasn't planned. In 1971, Joy's physician found a lump in her breast. She went into surgery with the knowledge she would awaken to the removal of a lump or a mastectomy. When she woke up from anesthesia, she asked me what happened, and I was the one to tell her that she had cancer and had had a radical mastectomy. I saw her cry very few times in her life, and this was one of those times. This was not in her plan. 6 weeks later, she had a hysterectomy for cervical cancer. She had 4 children still at home, ages 16, 13, 12, and 10. They bought a house and moved to Bonners Ferry, Idaho. That made her life much easier now, not having to travel the 30 miles each way for groceries, church, kids' piano lessons, and high school activities. After Joe graduated from high school, she went back to work as a nurse in the hospital in Bonners Ferry. As her mother became more disabled, Ollie moved to the nursing home, where she spiced up their life more and Mother's less. Joy worked 2 years after Dick retired. Even when she was in her 80s, she commented how she would like to be able to continue to work in nursing. They bought a motorhome and toured the U.S. Then they bought a home in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoyed their winters in Arizona and summers in Idaho for a number of years. When my husband and I moved to the Phoenix area in 1996, Mom and Dad sold their house in Bonners Ferry and their house in Mesa on the east side of Phoenix and bought a house in Surprise on the west side to be close to a golf course and to us. Joy's next unplanned event occurred a few months after she and Dick celebrated their 60th anniversary. Dick was hospitalized with congestive heart failure. During his hospitalization, he was found to have a cancerous tumor in his lower abdomen, and it was inoperable. About 3 months later, he passed away on December 23, 2006. Joy now had to learn to live alone. Dick planned well those last few months and left his affairs in excellent order for her and their children. Joy had developed sciatic pain while taking care of Dick. She was 86 years old. She had spinal surgery, a rod and pins put in her back, and was pain-free immediately after surgery. She did get frustrated because she saw no reason why her body didn't recover more quickly. After all, in her mind, she was only in her 50s. In 2011, she spent the summer with her children in Washington, Idaho, Montana, and California. That summer, the family gathered and, with her present, discussed the options of where she could go when she decided to leave her home in Phoenix. Just before she was ready to return to Phoenix, her oldest son-in-law, my husband, told her he didn't think she should be driving anymore. She had a number of car accidents or near misses, the most serious just before she left to go north that summer. She was 90. In October, her family descended, packed her household items, and moved her to Missoula to live at Grizzly Peaks, an independent living center. I asked her amidst the hubbub of her move how she felt about it. Her comment was, "I don't like it, but I understand it." As her health failed, Nancy and Ron Marks invited her to come and live with them. She was enrolled in hospice, then got better, and even graduated from hospice in May. She was so happy living with them, and especially when her great-granddaughter Bethany was born. She was even more delighted when her son asked Lori to marry him. She said to me, "I'm so glad he asked her. I didn't think he would, but she'll be very good for him, and he will be good for her." As she was failing, Nancy and I were with her when she said, "I've got to get up and get ready." Nancy said, "Where are you going?" Mom said, "To the wedding." We think she really thought she would overcome the health issues one more time. After all, if she was only in her 50s when she was 86 and had her spinal surgery, she must be only in her 60s now. She was determined to go to Joe's wedding, and she was with us in spirit yesterday as Joe and Lori said their vows and promised to cherish each other. I want you to look at your life. What do you have planned? But the bigger question is, how will you react when your plans don't go the way you want? Mom faced more adversity than most of us ever will, and she faced it with grace and courage, having a positive attitude, the mental attitude of a survivor, never giving up. I would like to end with a quote from Dorothy Rodham, who said, "Life is not about what happens to you, it is about what you do with what happens to you."